This is Maggie and her week 1 recap. Good girl. So starting off training this week, we started off playing with some toys. Right now I'm using what's called a flirt pole. The flirt pole is really, really nice for these young puppies who have a tendency to be a little mouthy. It allows the toy to be on the ground at floor level with the puppy, and my hands are completely out of the situation. So my hands are up here playing with the toy while Maggie gets to chew and chase on the toy at the end of it. Good girl, baby. Yeah. Once I feel that Maggie has a good grip on that toy, I'm not gonna yank it too far in one direction, but I am gonna apply some opposite pressure. Good girl. To really encourage her to wanna hold on to it and tug a little. Get your toy. Yeah, good girl. Not my pants, ma'am. Yeah, good girl. I know, you ready to work? You want some snacks? Here you go, baby. I know. You know the food is in my pouch, right? Yeah. Oh, good girl. All right, she is ready to work, so we're gonna just get into it. All right, so first thing that we had to do with the puppies this week was introduce our reward marker. So with that, I am using a clicker. Good girl. So first steps of introducing that reward marker is we want to do what's called charging our clicker. I'm simply going to click that clicker and then hand Maggie a piece of food. Good girl. Now, day 1, this clicker is pretty loud, so I wasn't having it out front. I had it behind my back to kind of muffle that sound. This time, she is pretty used to the sound of that clicker, so I can have it out more front if I want to. I tend to just keep it behind my back, though. Good girl. So each click equals a piece of food. Your clicker is going to be a promise that food is coming. Good girl. So even if the beginning stages you accidentally click that clicker, make sure that you reinforce it with a piece of food. Good girl, baby. Now what is the point of the clicker? Here you go. Okay. The clicker is what we're going to use to capture the moment that our puppies offer us the behavior that we asked for. So typically with that, I like to think of sit. Okay. When our puppies have their butt on the ground, the front 2 paws are on the ground, that is the picture for a sit. So that is what we want to click, and that is what we're going to feed. Good girl, babe. Okay. The next thing I'm doing right now is I'm charging what's called my release word. Now when I charge my release word, I don't have to use the clicker for that. Okay. I am going to simply show Maggie that I have a piece of food and then toss my food in one direction. Okay. As I say the word I picked for my release word. I personally like to use the word okay. You guys are more than welcome to stick with that word. If you want to change it, I would do the same thing. Just go back to charging whatever word you pick. One more time. Okay. Good girl. And then moving right on, the next thing I want to do is just play a little name game. So using that release word. Okay. Maggie, good job, baby. I'm tossing that release cookie, and then as soon as I see that she's done eating, that is when I want to call her name. Okay. Maggie. Yeah, good girl. And the moment I'm clicking right now is when she turns. So I've called her name. She looks at me because I called her name. That is what I want to capture. Good girl. And now this game is called the flying cookie game. Okay. Maggie, good job. Now what happens if we call our puppy's name and she doesn't turn around right away? Because there's something happening over here that's a lot cooler than I am. I don't want to say her name again. Okay. Maggie. Good job, babe. Instead of saying Maggie again, I might say puppy puppy, make kissy noises, clap my hands. If she still isn't listening to me, she's all the way out over here, I'm getting that food in front of her face, and as soon as she's turned towards me, that is what I want to click and feed, okay? All right, so we are gonna attempt to take a break from the food and get onto our toy for a second. Good girl, Maggie. I know, break from the food, here. So with the flirt pole, I'm just gonna kind of dance it around, see if she wants to go after it. She is very food motivated. So getting her to kind of go back onto the toy and play is a little difficult. What's this? What is this? But I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try to get her to re-engage with this toy. That way we can take breaks in between training. We want the puppies to know that training is fun. It's not just gonna be a rigorous 20-minute session of hard training. We're gonna break it up with some play. She doesn't want to, so we're gonna keep going. The next thing we're gonna introduce to the puppies is how to follow a food lure. Now the way that I wanna hold my food for this, I'm gonna have a flat palm and my thumb is gonna cover that food. This way I can turn my hand whichever way and I'm not gonna drop it. But she can still lick it and sniff it and get close to that. So attach my puppy to that food and take a few steps. Good girl. As soon as I click, I'm releasing my thumb so she can eat that food. Good job, baby. Yeah. Very good, Maggie. Good job. Now she is connected to my hand that entire time. She is licking it. She's very close. If at any point we disengage from each other, I don't want to keep moving my hand. I want to keep my hand connected with her. So re-engage. Good girl. This time I'm going to pair it with her name. Maggie. Good. And that's just another way to practice some name recognition. Maggie. Good job, baby. This. Very good. Maggie. Yeah, you're so smart. Now feeding off of following that that food lure, we're gonna now work on what's called a hand target. Very similar to how we hold the food for that food lure. I'm trying to break a piece off. You guys are gonna cover that food with your thumb. The difference though, this time I am gonna take my hand away. So she wants that food. Touch. Good. Pull my hand back slightly off to the side to encourage her to get up and move and follow it. Maggie. Yeah. At such a young stage, take advantage of her getting a little distracted and walking away. Use that opportunity to call her name to work on those name exercises. Touch. Good girl. So with the hand target, make sure you're practicing with both hands. If you only ever practice with your dominant hand, when you try to get it with your other hand, the dog typically is going to blow you off. Touch. Good. And the hand target is a movement exercise, so I want the dogs to get up out of a sit, up out of a down. Touch. To offer that hand target. Okay. We're going to try again on the toy. We'll see what happens. Hand targets, like I said, they are a movement exercise, so we like to use these to kind of get the dogs to move around their space. I also like it as, that's my pants, ma'am. Yeah, you get the toy. As a focus and engagement exercise. So if we're out in a new space, my dog really knows that hand target. I'm going to ask for a hand target. Man, I wore the wrong pants today, little love. What's this? Good job. I'm going to ask for a hand target to get my dog to focus on me. And then once I have their attention, okay, then we could go about whatever we're working on. All right. So the next thing we're going to work on is going to be the first steps to our position changes. So we're going to get her into a sit. Now, food is going to start at nose level, and I want to come up and back. Sit. Good. Another cookie for staying in that sit. Okay. and then that release cookie to release her from the position. Now, right now it's a little messy. She just learned that this week, so she's still super excited. She's super wiggly, but I'm trying very hard to only capture the more still moments with her. Sit. Waiting for that paw. Good girl. Yeah, you really love your food. Okay, and better. That is much better. The thing that we need to focus on with her is waiting out those paws. So I don't want to click when the paw is in the air. I also don't want to feed when the paw is in the air. So wait to deliver the food or the clicks. Maggie, good girl, until those paws are on the ground. Sit. Good job, baby. Yeah, you're so excited. Get that paw down. Good job. Okay. Good girl. So that's the basic first introduction to getting her into a sit. Next week, we'll really work on trying to fade using food for that, and just using that verbal cue. Are you excited about your mat? Yeah. All right, so next thing we're gonna work on is our mat, our stationary behavior. Good girl. So step one to the mat, at the beginning of the week, we were luring the puppies over. As soon as they had 4 paws on, that is what we clicked and that is what we fed. Hey, okay, go get it. Good girl. Now that we're towards the end of the week, I am trying to see that she gets herself into a sit when she gets to the mat. So I was waiting her out a little bit there. After she puts herself in her sit, I'm going to click and feed a piece of food right onto this gray mat itself. And then I'm going to come in with what's called a follow-up cookie. Good girl. So click and feed for that initial sit of being on the mat, a follow-up cookie for staying on the mat, and then a final cookie to release her. Good girl. I'm actually going to feed her for that because I love that she put herself in a down. Okay. Good job. And then my okay to release her off of the mat. Step 1, we are moving the mat around a bit to really encourage her to find this mat. Working with the space that I have. Go to your mat. Good girl. Well, this next piece is a little funny. Might take you a minute to chew that. Oh, good girl. This is the other reason why we feed the food directly onto the mat itself. By me feeding the food directly onto the mat, it encourages her to get into this nice down. What a good girl. Okay. Good job, babe. Now the mat is going to be super important if you guys have goals of having her in a nice stay. That is the beginning steps of teaching a dog a stationary stay behavior. Okay. Well, that was really far. Are you going to find it? Use your nose. Right here, babe. Maggie. Good girl. And when we play this flying cookie recall game, I want you guys to feed it as close to your body as possible. So instead of feeding our dogs out here, that's going to create a dog who positions themselves further away from you. I want you to bring that food right to your side and feed them next to you. All right, good girl. Hi, I'm going to pick you up. Up. All right, the next thing I want to do with Maggie is get her dressed into her harness. So typically for this, I'm going to pick the puppies up, and then once I have their legs in, you're such a good girl, I might get 2 or 3 pieces of treats and then set that down on the ground. I know, babe. Hey, what's this? Good girl. As I clasp her into her harness. Good job, babe. What's this? Okay. This week with the harness, we're really just getting her used to having gear on. So I want to get some movement with her. Okay, yes, good girl. So having her follow that food lure again as she's dressed in that harness. Very good job, Maggie. What are you looking at? Yeah, good job. Good. I might ask her for a hand target while she's in her harness. Touch. Good girl. Touch. Very good girl. Okay. Maggie. Good job, baby. If she wanted to play with the toy, we would also play with our toy right now while she has her harness on. But again, this girl loves her food, so she just wants to eat. Oh, you got it. Yeah, I know my pants look very similar to this toy, but we are playing with the toy. Good girl. So as you can see in the video, she has a few times connected onto my pants. They're a little flowy. She thinks they're fun. She thinks they're cool. So when she does that, I'm going to try to replace my pants with a toy. So get a toy in front of her, see if she'll disengage from the pants onto a toy. If that doesn't work, I will get the food out. Good girl. So putting the food in front of her nose, as soon as she lets go of your pants, food gets dropped over here. Okay? For taking her harness off just now, again, I used food. I had food right in front of her face. I set the food down and unclasped, and then she stepped out of her harness. Good job, baby. And then the final thing that we worked on this week is our body handling. So body handling for her is going to be very important. She is going to be a type of dog who has to go to the groomer usually every 6 to 8 weeks. Even if that's you guys grooming her at home, she still is going to need that care where she gets brushed every day. She's going to have clipper blades that are going to shave her fur down when she gets fluffy. So being used to having this type of handling is very important at this young stage. Also, you're going to have to go to the vet for the rest of your life. So first thing I work on, I have a couple of pieces of food in my right hand. She can lick it and sniff it, but she can't eat it just yet. And then my other hand is going to do the handling. So step one is a little baby restraint. Yes. My hand is gently swiping down her back and then sliding under her belly. Yes. Good girl. Okay. And notice how I'm using that verbal reward marker of yes instead of the clicker. Body handling, I do try to use my clicker as much as I can, but it gets a little difficult sometimes when you have to feed, you have to handle a paw, and you have to click. Yes. So I like to also have that verbal reward marker as an option as well. Same concept. Yes. You mark with that verbal word, you feed her the piece of food. Okay. Good job. So the next thing I did right there was just practicing lifting her tail. When she goes to the groomer, she's going to have her tail lifted to clean up back there. When she goes to the vet, she'll have to have it lifted for her temperature. Yes, good girl. Now I'm focusing up at her face. So I'm flipping back her ears. Yes. And this week being week 1 of her being introduced to this type of handling, I'm not really adding too much duration. So I'm not spending too much time with my hands in her ears. Yes, good girl. Okay. So we did her ears. I lifted her lip to look in her mouth. We lifted her tail, the baby restraint of holding her under her belly. Now we're gonna handle her paws. So I have 4 pieces in my hand, 1 for each paw. Yes, good girl. So starting at her shoulders, I'm gonna slide down to where I wanna touch. Yes, good girl, baby. Can you rotate? Good job. Yes, good girl. You're you're gonna lose your balance if you keep that paw up. Yes, good job, baby. And again, try really hard to capture the moment, okay, that she is being the best. So when that paw's up in the air, try not to capture at that time. Just wait her out. Keep your hand gently on the other paw, but wait till that other paw is on the ground before you mark it and feed her. All right, babes. That is everything that we covered for week 1. As a little friendly reminder, you guys do get a complimentary Zoom for participating in the program. So be sure to check back to your initial confirmation email. Everything you need to know for booking your Zoom lesson is in there, including the discount code to get the Zoom. All right, that's it.